Hey everybody, Bucho here. It is the first legitimately chilly day in October, and so I am rocking my Bucci gear today. Consequently, I have new Henley shirts and lightweight hoodies up at Mom's Creative. I will put a link to those in the comments below, or not the comments, but the description below. Um, Today I'm going to read the first story out of my second book, The Machinery of the Heart Love Stories. The first story is called Admissions in the Dark, and it is probably I would say it's probably the most true to life experience that I've had, marrying two different time periods of my life together into one single story. So the things you read are mostly true. They're just told in a very untruthful way, if that makes sense. So here we go. I dreamt of shotgun weddings with ancient lovers, scrambled desperately to find an iron to smooth out the pleats and creases of a suit hung too long in the closet. Awoke well before dawn, eyes wide and relieved that these were only figments of a sleeping imagination. I make coffee. I can hear the water boiling in the machine. The smell of frozen coffee grounds waiting to soak floats through the apartment. I'm out of milk, but not sugar, so there's that. I can have coffee, but I'll have to pass on cereal. It's a trade-off I'll deal with for now. I may shower, I may not. This time of morning is strange and vacant, like the brain can't quite commit to the body it's attached to, so messages get mismatched. The brain goes all sluggish while the body keeps screaming for the cocooning warmth of sheets and comforters. It takes me, on average, about an hour to fall asleep. I see the pattern of her face in the popcorn coating of the white ceiling in my bedroom. I see her face on the head of every woman I pass by, hoping that each mirage is another version of her I can apologize to, make amends to for the way I allowed things to happen, for the things I allowed her to do, for the things I did simply because I was angry, for the things we left behind indented in the walls and turned to dust before sweeping it all into the trash, for the pieces of ourselves we left behind so we could move on. I'm awake in the present and I cannot stop thinking about the past, trying to find a way to change certain decisions into something else. I want to divert certain moments into better memories that will never be. I want to change who I was back then so that I do not become the person I am now. Or would I rather stop the person I was from simply becoming? It's hard to see through the blurred lines. It's 5 a.m. and this shower feels like a never-ender. It's the kind that sprays at the perfect pressure and temperature and makes you want to remain beneath the shower head for hours, the soapy water filling up and collecting around your feet, then up to your ankles, then, if one has spent too much time, feel the water collect around your calves. If I turn the shower off now, I can spend extra time standing here drip drying. It's not terribly effective, but it's better than soaking up the bath mat with whatever water remains on my feet. I lean my head against the shower wall, watch as the soapy water spirals slow and silent down the drain. White particles cloud up the water, give off the feeling of being part of some grand science experiment. It spirals and spirals and spirals, the drain squelching as the last bit gets sucked down into the black. I dry off with a towel still moist from last night's shower. It smells of mildew, which means I'll be doing laundry when I get off work today. Hair, head, neck, chest, arms, and then all the way down, the terry cloth soaks up whatever beads of water remain. I dress in front of the mirrored closet doors, sucking in my gut and trying to imagine myself as someone more attractive. I feel ridiculous, as if this is a scene in a movie and there is an audience beyond watching my pathetic display of vanity. I stop and turn away from the mirror. I am the protagonist that will not win in the end. I do not get the girl. I do not ride off into the sunset with a future laid out before me in golden reds and creamsicle oranges. 10 years later, I will wake up in the middle of the night, sweat beading across my forehead with sheets and shorts equally soaked. I won't immediately remember the dream, but I will remember my first waking thought, which is, I have not dated since her. Not because I found myself too busy or too picky, but because I did not care for the person I became when she left. He was not me. I was not him. The reasons for the split would become irrelevant once he made his presence known. I will look back and realize with crushing clarity at how easy it was for me to become monstrous. That is a hard admission to make alone in the dark, and it should scare the shit out of any man that considers himself a decent one. But this is now, and I have a folder on my desktop full of bad poetry written while we were together, and even worse poetry from the after. All of it the kind of stuff that elicits begrudging applause at readings because everyone knows how bad it is. Poor, mixed metaphors, a grab bag of I love you, I hate you stanzas that vacillate wildly across the emotional spectrum, vague phrasing and imagery that no one else can relate to because it's been intentionally muddled for privacy's sake. And yet I read it in public hoping for what? Sympathy? Someone to reach out after I've put the mic down and relate to what I'm feeling through words? This is a very confusing time for me, and I can't seem to find my center. I leave the apartment, lock the gated entrance on my way out, and head to the bus stop. I see the bus at the end of the street, sitting perpendicular at a red light. I run down to the corner, waving my hands in the air while hoping to race it to the bus stop down the block. The bus does not stop for me, and I'm left staring down the street, hoping another one comes soon. It's still dark out, but I see no new headlights on the way. A man's voice yells from down the street, "Hey, yeah, you, faggot. Quit staring at me. Get the fuck out of my city." Now, I've learned that it's best not to make eye contact with the homeless or the crazed in the city. Once you've locked eyes, you're immediately in trouble. It's over. You've lost. The problem here is that ignoring them means you can't keep an eye on them as they pass you by. Are they behind you now? Have they kept walking? Where did they go? Your sense of hearing heightens, and with it, your sense of danger. You are hyper-aware and ready to react when needed. I don't recognize him, so I assume he's either on the phone or screaming at someone else. I let down my guard, and this becomes my latest mistake of many made. But this guy, he's not homeless, and he's very angry about something. I barely have time to turn to look at him before he's on top of me. He's big, football player big, standing at 6'8" and damn near 300 pounds. He's young, white, wearing gym shorts and a gray hooded sweatshirt. This is what I see before I feel the first 3 punches to the face. I squirrel away from him, but he gets his hands around my neck and we tumble to the blacktop of the street. My head is slammed in the concrete once, twice, a few more times. I lose count in the moment. 2 more punches to the face for good measure, and then, unbelievably, he simply stops and walks away. Just like that. Poof. Gone. I get onto my knees and sit there, stunned. He didn't try to take my shoulder bag or my wallet, so there's that. I realize that my glasses have flown off during the scuffle and begin to look for streetlights glinting through the lenses across the pavement. It's still so dark out that I can't see a thing. Hunched over, I run the palm of my hand across the pavement, hoping to find them before the next batch of traffic pulls through the intersection. Nothing. 2 seconds later, a blurry red something or other drives right over them. The crunch of the frames and lenses is enough to make me sick if the adrenaline weren't already taking care of that. The traffic passes and I find a third of what's left of my glasses and stumble back up to my apartment to call the police. My face feels both loose and stiff in a very wrong way. So much has changed in the span of 3 quick minutes. I could have called in to work today. I could have never left the house, emailed my coworkers, and simply gone back to bed, feigning illness and spending the day binging on bad television or writing. I could have let myself be swallowed by the wallow and go through all the emails we sent each other from first to last and maybe send another that she would also not respond to. I think there is some part of me that still believes in starting over. We broke up once and gave things another shot, the only time she's ever done that, according to her. So this weird hope still sits in my chest. My head knows better, but I am ever the optimist, despite the years having shown me that optimism is a fool's gambit in most matters of the heart. Hope is like the lottery. Everyone's got a shot, but almost everyone loses. An officer arrives, looks me over, clucks sympathetically, and has me recount the events leading up to the scuffle, along with what little description I can volunteer. I'm interrupted by the squawk of his radio, and he smiles after listening to the operator on the other end. We think we have him in custody. Seriously? Already? He holds up a finger and keeps the radio to his ear. The squawking stops. You think you can identify him? He asked me. Absolutely. Let's go. I have never ridden in the front seat of a police cruiser before. Rather than feel empowered like I am being protected, I feel embarrassed. It's still too early for most of the world to be up and awake, but I feel like anyone that sees me there in the front may automatically assume I am a victim, an idea which unsettles me as it's a thing I've never experienced before, an unbelievably profound and crippling feeling. We drive 4 or 5 blocks down. I can see the ring of flashing lights from several intersections away. When we arrive, the officer asks me if the man handcuffed around the girth of a fire hydrant is my assailant. I tell him yes. He tells me to wait in the car and says not to worry because my assailant can't see me. I knew this much seeing the other cruiser's spotlights filling his face, blinding him. Weirdly, because I'm not a violent person by nature, I want nothing more than to get out and return the beating to him in full. Other officers come to the door, ask me to corroborate my story over and over again. I don't mind as the story doesn't change. Each one of them looks at me in their own strange way, then back at my assailant, then back to me. Each one wonders aloud how I'm not in worse shape, how I'm not in the hospital, how my jaw will not be in need of wiring. One of them says it's lucky they had all just come on shift from the coffee shop around the corner. Another says they got 6 phone calls about the altercation, which makes me wonder why no one stepped in to help while I was getting pummeled, though I remember seeing no one else out on the street. Another says that my assailant is mentally unstable and that it appears I simply got caught in the tornado's path. I'm unsure of how to take that. What they do not say, but that I think to myself, is that I am lucky he was not armed with a weapon. I am lucky that he gave up and stopped punching me, stopped slamming my head into the street when he did. I am lucky, but I don't feel it yet, and won't truly do so for several days. It's agreed that he should be taken to the psych ward at the city's general hospital rather than have me press charges. The charges would get thrown out by the judge anyway, and ultimately the man just needs help. Even I can recognize this for what it is, despite feeling a very serious need for retribution of some sort. I feel like I've been cheated on this particular point. I'm taken home and given a preliminary report. When the officer leaves, I lock the gate to my building and email my coworkers to let them know I won't be making it in. I stumble to a mirror to assess the damage. The left side of my face is swollen and a brighter red, but otherwise unblemished. I assume the bruises will come, but they strangely never make an appearance. The bumps on the back of my skull are enough to worry me, so I give up drinking for the next month just to make sure my brain hasn't been rattled too hard. The sobriety would be good for a while anyway. The couch and I become one for the rest of the day as I alternate glasses of water with aspirin and naps. This is not the first time I've been randomly assaulted in the city, but this is definitely the most violent of them. The transformative mental shift of viewing the city where I live into a war zone I'm simply trying to navigate safely is like a veil being lifted. There is no more haze, no more barrier between me and the truth. My face throbs steadily for 4 days, my head for 3 days after that. In and out of sleep on the couch, I fall asleep during one show, awake in the middle of another. Their plot lines nearly intersect as the midday seems ripe for police procedurals. I don't normally like the distraction of noise while I sleep, but the sound of commercials is more calming buzz than annoyance as my eyelids go heavy. I don't remember the dreams, I don't remember the sleep, but I wake up around 7 in the evening, hungry and listless. I don't know what to do with myself. I pick up my phone and think about texting her, letting her know what happened. Deep down, I know that this is me simply fishing for her sympathy and affection. It's a ploy and nothing else. I put the phone back down and rummage through the kitchen for something to eat before cozying back onto the couch for the rest of the evening. Over the next month, I engage in a few activities. I snap at a coworker for doing exactly what I'd asked her to do the Friday before. I call in sick multiple times, not because I'm afraid of a repeat assault, though that feeling persists as well, but because I have lost my desire to care about the work that I do. I wake up and the day has turned a blurry gray. It is a thick nothing I have zero desire to fight through. I get into a fantastic knockdown drag-out fight with my boss. We average at least one a day now, though, to be fair, some of them are the same fight stretched out over the course of several days. Either I'm being unreasonable or she enjoys poking the fucking bear, and I worry that there is a fair amount of both of those involved. By the end of the month, I begin fighting back against the malaise. A glass of wine and a little pot before showering and having dinner seems to turn my mood for the better. Another glass of wine after dinner and some television. This becomes my normal for a while. Gray. This is the color my life tastes to me now. Safe and boring. Through the wonder of the internet, I find out that she is not only pregnant but engaged. Which came first is anyone's guess, but I feel like I've just been randomly assaulted at the bus stop again. Like I'm kneeling in the middle of a busy street, palms out and searching for my glasses, wondering how things got to this point while my face and head both continue to ache from the pummeling. I guess I knew that she would move on for good. I'm pretty sure I knew that I was not the one, but the news still has a heaviness, a weight to it. And perhaps it always will, because that's just how these things go, right? I will probably always see the pattern of her face in the popcorn coating of the white ceiling in my bedroom. I will probably always see her face on the head of every woman I pass by, constantly hoping that each mirage is another version of her I can apologize to, make amends to for the way I allowed things to happen. Thank you. If you guys like what you're hearing, hit subscribe on the channel. Feel free to grab a copy of this book. It is also digitally interactive. Some of the stories have extra bits of audio that help perpetuate the fiction further, which is kind of a fun idea. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.